So we finally got the first look at Flesh and Blood's 7th set Dynasty late last week, complete with some spicy spoilers. And while there's always a lot to unpack and speculate on with spoilers and mechanics, what I'm always most interested in seeing out of the gate is the sell sheet, which outlines the set's contents and rarity breakdowns. Dynasty, the first expansion set, is larger in nearly every way than its previous supplemental set, Cousins, while still coming in the same size packs. Now, while Fab 2.0 has thus far demonstrated significantly higher drop rates, it appears, at least for now, they're going to have to buy more of Dynasty than we did for Crucible and Everfest. But as crazy as it sounds, that might not be a bad thing. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Thanks again for tuning in and hanging out with me today. So, lots of excitement going on right now coming out of last week and through the weekend with the Dynasty set info coming November 11th, just after the Worlds weekend down in San Jose. I wonder if we'll see some packs being cracked down there. I think we probably will. So yes, there are spoilers out of them. You can see, one of them down there on the sell sheet, which is the Marvel Crown. Lots to talk about there. I'm not ignoring the fact that there are spoilers. But today, what I really wanted to go through was the sell sheet, because there's some interesting stuff coming out of this, most notably, like I said, that the set is larger than the supplemental set counterparts. Now, the reason that nomenclature matters, of course, is this is an expansion set, and Crucible and Everfest were supplemental sets. We were thinking that was basically just a terminology change, but it's important to note that we're in Fab 2.0, and comparing those two is not necessarily apples to apples. Certainly isn't looking at the set contents, but comparing them is not necessarily apples to apples. On the other hand, it is what we have as our baseline to compare to. So let's go ahead and run down, the set breakdowns. Are 247 cards in the set. It'll be the 10 card packs with 24 packs, 4 boxes per case. That's all pretty standard. Now, the set composition is 1 Fabled, okay, on par there, 5 Legendaries. That's a lot for a supplemental set, but not necessarily for an expansion set. 51 Majestics, 81 Rares, 109 Commons, and then 14 Marvels. So the rarity distribution is 1 Cold Foil per display, 1 RF per pack, a rare or higher there will be 1 rare in a pack, and then 1 will be rare or higher, right? Pretty standard there. And then 7 common. So just real quick, throwing across the board, just a comparison between Dynasty, Everfest, and Crew in terms of the sizes of the set. So Everfest had 198, Crucible had 198. This has 247. Now again, I'm not saying that Dynasty has to be matched, but you can they're in the same size pack, and it doesn't take a whole bunch of high-level math to realize that there's more stuff in same size packs. You're probably going to have to buy more packs, right? That's a pretty solid statement, I think. So what I wanted to do real quick, this is an image from way back in the day, like when our numbers were in the double digits for episodes, but this is the Crucible rarity and collectability, and the only reason I'm putting this up is just to put into context Dynasty. Okay, so what we saw in Crucible based on the 6 Majestics per box was that in order to get a play set, you needed to open roughly 18 boxes. That said, in order to get a play set of rares and commons, you needed to open a case, right? It was basically right at a case. So that's what the normal person, right, the normal player, which, is always an interesting thing because there's not really a normal player, right? Some players buy packs, some players buy 5 cases, right? And I get that there's no normal. I get that. But a lot of people, when they're thinking about buying into stuff like this game, they tend to think in cases, especially, because of just the history of the game in terms of how legendaries are put in boxes. And again, that doesn't mean it's relevant for this. But just historically, people have always thought about this in terms of how many cases am I going to buy, right? So that's what I thought was really important about Crucible, and we saw relatively the same in Everfest, that if you bought a case, you generally got a play set, give or take, of the commons and the rares. Now, if we go over to Dynasty, and there's a lot to unpack here because we don't know a lot of stuff. I completely grant you that. But we do know the common and rare breakdown. So commons, you have to buy 2 boxes to get a full play set. Shouldn't be a problem. And again, guys, this is assuming equal distribution, but you'll at least have enough to trade and stuff. And again, it's commons. But going into the rares, now, what we don't know is how many Majestics are in. Majestics or otherwise slots will be using up those rares, right? So I have 48 minus X. So if we go on rares, if we assume that there's 48 rares in the box, which is best case scenario for rares, but really worst case scenario for your box for the most part, right? You would have to actually buy a little more than 5. So if we assume, which we're not even assuming, like you will at some point in your case, you will get a Majestic and hopefully other stuff. You're probably gonna have to buy 6 or more boxes of product in order to get a play set of rares. Right, so immediately out of the gate, if you compare back to Crucible, which was, hey, you need to buy a case to basically have a play set of everything except the big stuff, we're already above a case for Dynasty for a play set of the big stuff. Now, the Majestics, if we assume that it's roughly 8 or so, I think that's fair. You can start doing some other math there, but where I guess kind of stopped on this is because we're going to have to assume, I think it's fair to assume that we're going to see heroes, that there might only be 1 M of, weapons, all sorts of. I think that's a pretty fair assumption, and that starts throwing off the number to full playset because like you might only need 1 Valda, right? You might only need 1 of like the new polearm guy, right? Makes sense. So I didn't want to speculate on that, but if you look at it and you assume it's probably somewhere around 18 boxes, 16 boxes, something like that, and then legendaries. Hopefully the legendary drop rate will be more 2.0-esque than we've seen in the supplemental sets in the past and on the expansion set. So hopefully you don't have to buy 5 cases to statistically get your 5. Hopefully it's a little better than that. And then I didn't even put the Marvels on here because, I mean, you guys get it. So I mean that's pretty much the takeaway overall is that the normal of let's I'm gonna buy my case. You need more than that, right? Just for the rares. Now, again, it doesn't matter. So I do fully expect there to be a lot of cards, and like we saw it in the last set, Uprising. I do fully expect there to be a lot of cards that only exist in one pitch. Maybe you have some legendary rares even, but it doesn't. Well, it does for the legendaries, but for the most part, it doesn't matter what the pitches are because we know that there's that many unique cards. So in order to get the play set, you do need to have, like it says here, roughly 6 boxes in order to get a play set of rares. So that's definitely a change. Now, like I said going in, this looks bad. It's like, well, I have to buy more. That stinks. And by the way, note that the price per pack is definitely higher, which, inflation, and that's the world we live in, folks, right? But why is this not necessarily a bad thing? Because the player base at large is going to have to open more stuff. And you know that people are going to be chasing, 5 legendaries. This is going to be opened at a rate of this. It's going to be opened at a rate of like Uprising, basically, right? Or maybe even a little more, depending on the distribution. So, while yes, you buying your case, you probably won't have a full play set of your rares. You would think the price of the rares is going to be pretty low, right? And then on the flip side, right, with this being, that's not really a flip side, in addition, with this being a expansion set, you may not care about all of the rares, right? You may not want wizard cards jamming up your box because we've already got a shelf full of stuff. So you don't necessarily need to collect the whole set of this, but a lot of people want to, and I think this is good to look at those numbers. But either way, even if you're only chasing after one specific rare, the chance of getting it scales with this argument. So I just thought it was really interesting to go through and look at it, which is why we're here. I really love, I get most excited about the product sheets. We bring it up now again. I really like to see just everything and kind of plan how we think it's all going to look. I mean, it's exciting. Dynasty is going to be really cool. New characters. I'm hoping for another adult. Come on, adult Kassai. You got to happen. You got to happen. But I don't know. We'll see if that new guy that they spoiled is a Guardian or a Warrior. So anyway, that'll do it today, folks. Just, let me know what you guys are thinking. Are my numbers off? Do you agree, disagree? I mean, I didn't really put in numbers for some of them, so that always gives me the political out, right? But it is very clear. It's very clear to me we're going to have to buy more of this set at apparently a ratio of like 1.5, right? Is what it looks like. And it's more expensive, which no one's blaming anybody for that, but you know what? When you're planning your purchases, keep it in mind. So anyway, that'll do it for me today, folks. Let me know what you're thinking. You agree? You disagree? You excited nonetheless? I think you should be. Either way, go Commando.